The History of Lenoir High School, Part 2. The Mountaineer was founded in 1922, May 1st, 1929. The Mountaineer, our school paper. The Mountaineer has done more towards bringing a better school spirit of Lenoir High School than any other extracurricular activity. Until it was founded, Lenoir High School was only a small town school with teachers, students, a baseball team, and a basketball team. It was simply an annoyance to be undergone, like the measles. Then came school spirit, and with it, cooperation. The first publication in this school was Blue and White. This was a magazine, 6 inches wide and 8 inches long, having about 30 pages between its blue paper covers. It contained poems and stories written by the students, and was illustrated with pictures of girls in ruffled dresses and their hair ribbons, and the boys whose hair stood up straight as the bristles of an enraged porcupine. Blue and White was published 3 times a year. After 2 years, it died from lack of attention. The Mountaineer was founded in 1922 by Miss Townsend, the English teacher, and Mr. Cassell, the principal. Because of their efforts, the paper lived through its first year and became an established activity in high school. There were 11 members on the first staff. Eloise Hedrick was the first editor-in-chief. Since then, the editors-in-chief have been Louisa Harrison, 1924, Louise Jennings, 1925, Edna Powell, 1926, John Holdfield, 1927, Peggy Link, 1928, and the present editor, Josephine Cook. A new staff is elected each year. The student body elects the editor-in-chief, the business manager, and the circulation manager. These must be from the senior class and former students of the staff. The other new editors are selected by the outgoing staff. In 1927-28, there was a marked change in the paper. The new faculty advisor, Miss Mary Coffey, and the editor-in-chief, Peggy Link, tried to make the paper better by getting it away from the same plans it had followed for years. As a result, the paper grew from 4 pages to 6 pages. The subscription list became larger. An old debt was paid. The literary department was given a more important place. The students showed more interest in the paper than ever before. The Mountaineer was the forerunner of our most outstanding extracurricular activities. When Lenoir High School found that she could edit a paper, and she became confident enough to adopt a school song and a motto and begin to talk of school spirit. Afterwards, there came a quick succession of winning football teams, glee clubs, the band, and various organizations. These activities are always advertised and encouraged by the Mountaineer. Looking far into the future, we see the Mountaineer published every week. It is printed on the high school's own printing press. Its bank account shows a substantial balance, and a capable staff is systematically working for better school spirit. Here's to the present management whose improvement of the Mountaineer has been marked. And this was from the 1929 Mountaineer, courtesy of Ruth Black Tuttle. The song on the left was printed in the 1927 annual. The words were written by Miss Ethel Thomas, who taught English and civics. The words were sung to a popular tune. Come, let us all thy sons and daughters sing, O school, to thee. Raise a loud and joyful chorus, a song of loyalty. Chorus. Lift your voices, let them tell of love and faithfulness, working always, working ever, for old LHS. Oft in many a heated contest, working with our might, will thy students for thy honor strive to win and fight. Soon from you thy sons and daughters, parted all will be, yet will strive, yea, all the harder, to bring renown to thee. Ethel Thomas. However, in 1933 a new school song was composed by C. Kermit Bolick, and a copyright was obtained from the Library of Congress, Washington, D.C. for the words and music, which was a piano arrangement, a piano with words, a vocal quartet arrangement. An article from February 1st, 1933, The Mountaineer, gives some facts about Kermit Bolick. C. Kermit Bolick has had an unusual career. That debonair young man, assistant director of the Lenoir High School Band, is known to most high school students merely as C. Kermit Bolick, alumni of the Culver Military Academy. By tooting the tuba, he won a musical scholarship to that famous institution. Students should learn more about this composer of the new school song, hence this article. After his completion of his junior year in Lenoir High School, Mr. Bolick enrolled as a student at Culver Military Academy. Being primarily interested in music, he played in the Culver Band, the Symphony Orchestra, and directed and played bass for the Jazz Orchestra. Physical development was not neglected, however, and for 3 years the varsity heavy crew was aided by Bolick, who was captain his last year. At tackle on the company football team, he played a good game for 2 years. The last of his 3 years at baseball saw him captain of the team. The manly art of self-defense claimed Bolick's attention for 1 year. During this time of musical and physical development, the academic side was not overlooked. Band members surpassed all other cadets in scholarship, and Kermit was no exception, being ranked among the 3 highest in the band his senior year. His average department for the entire course was 94. He was exempt from all final exams as a senior. Mr. Bolick won 4 medals for all-around development, 3 for crew, 1 for message center staff, 1 for the highest in scholarships and athletics, and 1 for orchestra. Besides these, there were 3 varsity sweaters to his credit. To observe this modest and retiring gentleman, one would never dream of the career he has behind him. Our respect and admiration is due Mr. Bolick. On the left, Charles Kermit Bolick, Lenoir, North Carolina. Title of music, Alma Mater Song, Lenoir High, by C.K. Bolick. Piano arrangement. Copy received June 27, 1933. Title of music, Alma Mater Song, Lenoir High School, Lenoir, North Carolina. Words and music by C.K. Bolick. Vocal quartet arrangement. Date of publication, February 1st, 1933. Copies received February 2nd, 1933. And there is the date of February 2nd, 1933 beside the Alma Mater Song. Lenoir High School, Lenoir, North Carolina. Hail, Alma Mater, hail, hail to thee. Thy name will always hold in highest ecstasy, glory and honor to thee will bring. Praise be Lenoir High, to thee will proudly sing. Bom, 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 bom. Ruth Watts Lingle, at her desk as secretary, Lenoir Public Schools, 1953. Mrs. Ruth Watts Lingle, Secretary to the Superintendent, 1929 through 1974. Mrs. Lingle was secretary at Lenoir High School from 1929 until her retirement in 1974. In 1975, the Lenoir City Schools merged with the Caldwell County School System, but classes did not move from Lenoir High School until after the class of 1977 graduated. It was then that Lenoir High merged with West Caldwell High School. During her years as secretary, Mrs. Lingle kept a record of the members of each graduating class. Miss Mary Coffey, a teacher and principal, started the list of seniors, and Mrs. Lingle continued keeping the record, adding later copies of newspaper articles of class reunions and articles concerning various graduates and faculty members. Mrs. Lingle began her own education at the Lenoir Graded School building, which was located on North Main Street in Lenoir, which is now the present location of the First Baptist Church. This graded school in the city of Lenoir opened in 1903 with Mr. A. E. Waltz as superintendent. As the city grew, so did the school, and by 1922 a new site was purchased on Willow Street and a building erected. In January 1923, all students walked from the overcrowded building on North Main Street to the new school building on Willow Street to begin a new era in academics, athletics, and activities. After completing her education at Lenoir High School in 1926, Mrs. Lingle attended Davenport College in Lenoir and received a certificate to teach. She taught for a year, but then decided to return to Davenport College, where she completed a course of study prescribed for the commercial department. In 1929, she began her secretarial work in the Lenoir High School. At that time, Clarence Shaw Warren was superintendent and Mr. J. P. Leeper was principal. Previous to Mr. Leeper, persons serving as principal were Mr. W. C. Merritt, Mr. J. Aris Castle, who began in the fall of 1922 and left in the spring of 1923, and Miss Mary Ellen Coffey. Miss Coffey served as principal for 11 of the 21 years she taught in the Lenoir Public School, being well remembered as teacher of Latin 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 1926 annual was dedicated to Miss Coffey. She resigned in January 1929 and moved to the home of her brother in Minco, Oklahoma, according to the Mountaineer, January 31st, 1929. 1926 Annual. Mrs. Lingle also has the 1925-1926 Annual Timber Tents, a yearbook, Volume 1. This was the first high school annual that was published in the history of the school. Note, later found copy of 1914 Annual, see page 48. Of particular interest in this 1926 Annual is a picture of the Lenoir High School Band, which is included herewith, along with several other pages from the 1926 Annual, as well as pages from the 1927, 28, and 47 Annuals. During the past history of the town of Lenoir, there have been many bands, but the Lenoir High School Band began with instruments donated by the American Legion. This photo of the band is from the 1926 Annual. Personnel of the band. Bottom row, left to right, Clarence Beach, drum major. Alfred Gilbert, 3rd clarinet. Hayes McCulley, 3rd trombone. Hal Marley, 3rd cornet. Hubert Beach, 4th trombone. James Caudle, 1st trombone. George Robbins, 2nd clarinet. Bill Maynard, solo alto. Morris Mallard, second alto. Lake Lindsay, snare drums. John Tipton, bass drum, second row. William McCulley, first cornet. James Farthing, second cornet. Stanley Jennings, piccolo. Miss Mary Gwen Hickerson, bell soloist. Miss Mary Louise Bender, supervisor of music, Lenoir Public Schools. James C. Harper, band director. J.P. Reese, baritone. Bill Newland, first alto. Otis Strother, solo cornet. Dewey Chester, third alto. Third row, Reese Caudle, baritone. Bill Whisnant, flute and trumpet. Paul Hedrick, soprano saxophone. John Holofield, alto saxophone. John Rebb, tenor saxophone. A.G. Ford Jr., solo B-flat clarinet. Howard Holofield, E-flat clarinet. Hillard Wilson, solo cornet. Thomas Isabel, first trombone. Top row, Kermit Bolick, E-flat bass. First name not known, Wall, alto saxophone. Lawrence Huntley, solo cornet from the Legion Band. Arthur Allen, first B-flat clarinet. Paul Chester, B-flat bass. Members of the band not in picture: Hubert Hayes, solo B-flat clarinet. Ed Hamby, E-flat baritone saxophone. Stanley Rash, second trombone. In 1921, the citizens of Lenoir contributed to a fund to purchase instruments to form a community band. It is regrettable that there is no record of this particular time on the microfilm. It would seem that the Legion Band and the orchestra merged with Mr. Harper as director, and from then on known as the Legion Band. At any rate, this Legion Band performed for various functions in Lenoir and surrounding area. However, by the end of 1923, this band was dissolved. It was then, according to record and memory, that Captain Harper thought a school band could be promoted, and he made a recommendation that the instruments be donated to the Lenoir Public School. This was agreed to in March 1924, and he began directing a band at the Lenoir School. Several members of the Legion Band agreed to rehearse with the new high school musical organization. The earliest picture seems to be the one in the 1925-1926 annual, which shows two men in the back row. However, there is an earlier listing of the band members as printed in the December 11, 1924 Lenoir News Topic. In the article, Is It Right? And what is contained in that article, Is It Left? Boys who are members of the high school band, from the Lenoir News Topic, Thursday, December 11, 1924. The following are members of the Lenoir High School Band at present, and all are practicing hard for their concert next Thursday night. Trumpet, Hillard B. Wilson. Cornets, L.B. Huntley, Mason Holefield, William McCulley, O.F. Strother, Jr., Clarence Beach, John Siegel Bernhardt. E-flat altos, Powell Bristol, J.B. Reese, Alfred Gilbert, Kermit Bolick. Slide trombones, L. Reese Caudle, Jr., Ben Kent, Thomas Isabel, James Caudle, Fred Rash. Baritones, Sam Curtis, Billy Whisnant. E-flat bass, Stanley Rash. B-flat bass, Paul Hedrick. Piccolo, Stanley Jennings, Jr. E-flat clarinet, Howard Holofield. B-flat clarinets, Hubert Hayes, A.G. Ford Jr., Edgar Arthur Allen. Soprano saxophone, James Farthing. Alto saxophone, John Holofield and Thomas Smith. Tenor saxophone, Wall. Baritone saxophone, Edmund Hamby. snare drum and traps, Yancey Barlow, bass drums and traps, John Tipton. Of the band members listed in the 1924 newspaper article, at least two of the men from the Legion Band, as they are pictured on the back row in the photograph in the 1926 annual as Wall and Huntley. Nothing further has been found about Mr. Wall. The newspaper article gives his name as new, but Mr. Huntley's family continued in the Lenoir High Band. L.B. Lawrence Huntley owned his cornet and later replaced it with a trumpet, a Llewellyn model, serial number 101414, patent date October 21, 1924, made by Frank Holton and Company, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and Chicago, Illinois. This trumpet was played in the Lenoir High School Band by his sons, Winfred Huntley, class of 1930, and Basil Huntley, class of 1943. Also, there were daughters and grandchildren who played other instruments in the band. The Llewellyn trumpet is still in the family, and in 1992 is being played by Winfred's grandson, Stephen Charles Marlaws, who is a sixth grader member of the band at Providence Day School in Charlotte, North Carolina. Also, two more of Mr. Huntley's great-grandchildren are playing trumpets. Adam Collins Kilzer, son of Susan Braswell Kilzer, class of 1972, who was a student at Leesville Middle School in Raleigh, North Carolina, and Casey Renee Huntley, daughter of Stephen Huntley, class of 1968. In 1992, Casey enters the 8th grade and is a second-year member of the band at William Lenoir Middle School, Lenoir, North Carolina, under the direction of Mr. Ed Whitener, Robert Edgar Whitener, a former Lenoir High School band member, class of 1967, Mr. George W. Kirsten, who will be found in the faculty listings throughout this record as a director of the Lenoir High School Band, is still actively teaching at William Lenoir Middle School and other schools in the county. Band was not listed as a senior statistic in the 1926 annual, but was so listed in the 1927 annual as follows. 1927 annual. The 1927 annual, Timber Tents, Volume 2, designates the seniors who had played in the Lenoir High School Band as well as those who had played in the Lenoir High School Orchestra. Director of the orchestra was Miss Marie Lean. Okay, here are the seniors in the instrument in the LHS Band and the LHS Orchestra. Clarence Beach, cornet, drum major, 1923-1924, LHS. Stanley Rash was a senior, second trombone, 1923-1924. Reese Caudle, baritone and timpani, 4 years, 1926-1927, in both the LHS Band and the LHS Orchestra. Hubert Hayes, solo B-flat clarinet and violin, 4 years in the LHS Band, and also 1925-1926 in the LHS Orchestra. John Holofield, Jr., alto saxophone, 4 years in the LHS Band. Bill Whisnant, Jr., trump and flute, 4 years in the LHS Band, and 1926-1927 in the LHS Orchestra. Hillard Wilson, solo cornet and trumpet, 4 years in the LHS Band, and the LHS Orchestra, 1926-1927. Helen Petrie, piano, and she was in the orchestra only, 1926-1927. Nelda Wilson, piano, and she was in the orchestra 1 year, 1927. Nyla Runyon, first violin, was in the orchestra 1926-1927. 1928 annual. Listed in the 1928 annual, blue and gray, were the following seniors who played in the band and the orchestra. And this is seniors and the instrument and the LHS band and the LHS orchestra. Seniors. All of these are seniors. Arthur Ford Jr., solo B-flat clarinet and violin, 4 years in the LHS band, 2 years in the LHS orchestra, 1927 through 1928. Howard Holyfield, E-flat clarinet, 4 years in the LHS band, 1 year, 1928, in the LHS orchestra. Howard Powell, saxophone, 1 year in the LHS band. John Rabb, bass and tenor saxophone, 4 years in the LHS band, and 1928 in the LHS orchestra. J.P. Reese, baritone, 4 years in the LHS band, 1927-1928 in the LHS orchestra. Carrie Pierce, second violin, 1928 LHS orchestra only. Virginia Powell, second violin, 1928 LHS orchestra only. Carolyn Sudras, second violin, 1928 LHS orchestra only. Due to the Depression, World War II, and the economy following the war, no annuals were published after 1928 until 1947. A handbook called Side by Side was created by the class of 1945. This had hand-cut profiles of the seniors. Annuals 1947 through 1976. The Bearcat was published each year beginning with 1947. Some photos I have replaced in this video and in the book to be published with better photos that I have, and this is one good example. Not the first. This isn't Lenoir's first brass band, which was mentioned in the Messenger in 1876, but another organized in June 1898. Lenoir has 2 bands, the topic said. A month or so ago, the young men of Lenoir went to work and organized a brass band. It is composed mainly of very busy young men, but notwithstanding this, they already play very creditably. A few weeks ago, another band was organized, a string band. This is composed of Mr. Allen, Ed Pulliam, and Will Martin, cornetist, and Mr. Spainhour, violinist, Moran Teague, guitar, and Obe Deal, violin. Both bands are under the instruction of Mr. Allen, who is a thorough musician. Members of the cornet band shown above are, first row from left, J.M. Moore, Dave Clark, W.L. Deal, Eugene Miller, and Obe Deal. Second row, Will Martin, Edgar Pulliam, Moran Teague, George Harper, Van Miller, Tom Shell, Ward Holyfield, and Edgar Allan Poe. The band was later selected to perform at Hickory when a silver spike was driven to commemorate the completion of the railroad line. And this is from the Lenoir News Topic Centennial Edition, September 25th, 1975. Bands, orchestras from the Lenoir News and the Lenoir News Topic, 1917 through 1924. Copies of newspapers were not available from July 1921 through July 1922, and from July 1923 through September 1924. The Lenoir News, August 17, 1917. Ancient History, 9 years ago and 19 years ago. 19 years ago. The Lenoir Cornet Band is an organization the people of Lenoir should feel a deep interest in. The boys are practicing regularly and improving rapidly. The news suggests to the ladies of the town to give an ice cream supper for the benefit of the band. The boys are not begging, but as cold weather approaches, a little fund to pay for fuel and light would be handy. And that was 19 years ago, September the 30th, 1898. Lenoir News, October 5th, 1920. The Hickory Concert Band played at the opening of the Chamber of Commerce in Lenoir. Mr. A.K. Joy was Secretary of the Chamber of Commerce. The Hickory Concert Band also played at the opening of the Lenoir Social Club, which was a men's club. February 17, 1921. We'll organize a band. A meeting will be held tonight, Thursday, February 17th, at 7:30 o'clock, for the purpose of organizing a band for Lenoir. Secretary Joy of the Chamber of Commerce has been working on this project for several weeks. He says he believes that he has it pretty well lined up. Everybody who is interested in community life is earnestly requested to attend the meeting at the Chamber of Commerce building. February 24, 1921. Another band meeting is to be held. Last Thursday night, quite a number of the men of the town assembled at the Chamber of Commerce building for the purpose of organizing a brass band for Lenoir. They were very enthusiastic over the prospects of securing a band for the town, which will add so much to the community life. There will be another meeting at the Chamber of Commerce building tomorrow, Friday night, and it is hoped that everyone who can play any sort of an instrument or who would be interested in supporting a band will be present and lend their support to the movement. March 24, 1921. Hickory Concert Band will give a concert at the courthouse in Lenoir Tuesday, March 29th at 8 p.m. for the benefit of the Lenoir Band. The admission will be 35 cents, and the school children will act as agents for the sale of tickets. Every child selling 10 tickets will be entitled to a free ticket. The courthouse should be crowded for this entertainment, not only on account of the splendid program and assured excellence of music, but as a mark of courtesy to the players from our neighboring city, as well as the impetus it will give to the organization of our own band. A short time ago, the Hickory Band gave a concert in Hickory to an overflowing house for the benefit of the community club of that city. The same offer was made to the Women's Betterment Association of this city, but our women's club insisted on the concert being given for the benefit of our new band, in which organization they are deeply interested. Not available, July 1921 through July 1922, August 31st, 1922. New band leader, Mr. W.F. Warlick of Conover, has been engaged as leader for the American Legion Band to fill the vacancy left by William Erkeline. He is practicing with them regularly now, and it is believed that they will continue to make rapid strides toward the making of a good band for the town. Some very credible playing is being done by some of the members of the band now, and if everyone will just stick to it and practice, Lenoir will soon have a band to be proud of. March 2nd, 1923. Lenoir Orchestra, a new institution. Lenoir now has an amateur orchestra that will play in public soon. Those of us who are believers in boosting home industry can take pleasure in learning that Lenoir now has an amateur orchestra which holds a good deal of promise. It is still in its infancy, but those who have heard it seem to be agreeably surprised at the result obtained in such a short time. The orchestra was organized by members of the American Legion Band who wanted to have an orchestra music as well, and quite a number of the band are also members of the orchestra. The orchestra has no official connection with the Legion or the Legion Band, although many of the orchestra members use instruments belonging to the band and are members of both organizations. There are several members of the orchestra who are not members of the band, and more of these will probably be added as musicians can be found who play instruments needed and will be willing to join the organization. The greatest need just now is for more violins and cellos. It is essential that an orchestra keep the string, brass, and reed section as well balanced as possible with each other. This very fact has kept the orchestra from taking in more of the band members who are perfectly capable of carrying an orchestra part, because no more members can be taken into the brass and reed sections until there is a corresponding increase in strings to balance. The orchestra will be heard in public for the first time on Tuesday, March 6th and Wednesday, March 7th. On these nights, the Universal Theater has consented to give benefit performances of 2 super pictures for the American Legion Post, and this orchestra has agreed to give its service to help make the occasion a success. All of the Friends of the Legion will wish to have a hand in filling the house for that reason alone, but it will be an added attraction to know that orchestra music will be available, and the quality of the 2 picture shows will be well worth the price of admission. The Lenoir News Topic, Tuesday, March 6, 1923. Orchestra to play Tuesday and Wednesday at the picture show. James Harper is the director of this orchestra. Note: Lenoir News Topic records are not available from July 1923 through September 1924. December 4th, 1924, concert Tuesday night. The music department of the graded school and friends of the school will give a concert Thursday night, December 11th, in the school auditorium. Admission will be charged. The receipts from the concert will be used in purchasing uniforms for the band and in beautifying the school grounds. December 11th, 1924. Boys who are members of the high school band. December 18th, 1924. The school concert given in the new public school auditorium last Thursday night was one of the most successful ever given in Lenoir. A large crowd was present and thoroughly enjoyed the program. The school band, under the direction of Mr. James Harper, rendered selections that would have done credit to any band in North Carolina, and the melodrama was so thoroughly enjoyed that the audience called for more. And this is the article on the right of this page. July 26, 1923. American Legion Band. Lenoir will have one gala day with entertainment for all. Everyone bear in mind that Lenoir will celebrate the 4th of July in great style, and everybody make their arrangements to spend that day in town. It is going to be something big, animating, and exciting. The American Legion, which is sponsoring the affair, is going to put it ever in grand style. Prizes offered. The various committees reported much interest in floats and decorated cars for the parade, which is to be one of the principal features of the big day, now being worked up by the American Legion. The following prizes have already been offered. Best Decorated Float, $10 by Lenoir Chamber of Commerce. Second Best Decorated Float, $5 by First National Bank. Best Decorated Car, $10 by the Lenoir Kiwanis Club. Second Best Decorated Car, $5 by the Bank of Lenoir. Some of the features. There will be a grand parade of veterans of the Civil War, the World War and the Spanish-American War, led by the American Legion Band. Addresses by Governor Cameron Morrison and Commander Lockhart of the American Legion on Davenport campus. Picnic dinner on the lower part of the campus after the speaking. Captain Charles A. Snipes will be here with his airplane and will give 2 exhibition flights, doing stunts of flying loop-de-loop and nose dip, tailspin, and gliding. The airplane will also do commercial flying, $10 per passenger. Merry-go-round and Ferris wheel on the lot behind Eford's store, and that would be Hog Waller. Baseball, Lenoir versus Marion. Big American Legion minstrel show at the Grady School Auditorium at 8:15 o'clock on the night of the 4th. Official decorator. G.L. Renner of Raleigh is the official decorator, and he is now preparing to decorate the city. Stubby Taylor and his orchestra. During the 1930s, the local orchestra was led by Harry C. Stubby Taylor. Mr. Taylor brought in some men from other areas to play in the band, but many were members or former members of the Lenoir High School band. Pictures courtesy of Mrs. Harry C. Nyla Taylor. And on the left photo you have left to right, unknown, James Fotherings, number 2, number 3 unknown, number 4 Stubby Taylor, number 5 Hal Marley, number 6 Otis F. Struther. And on the right bottom, 'Twas a Night Before Christmas, and the Junior Cotillion Club presents Stubby Taylor and his orchestra for their annual Christmas Eve dance, Lenoir Armory, Friday the 24th of December, 1937, 9:30 to 1:30. Script, $1.50. Committee, Jack Gibbons, Bill Maynard, Ed Tuttle, Frank Hicks, and Mickey Cook. The Stubby Taylor Orchestra. Left to right, 1. Clyde McCormick, 2. Unknown, 3. Kermit Bolick, number 4 unknown, number 5 unknown, number 6 Stubby Taylor, number 7 Thomas Isabel, number 8 unknown, number 9 Arthur Allen, number 10 Hal Marley, number 11 unknown, number 12 unknown. Frank Sigmund played the piano. Opera House. The Lenoir News, September 4th, 1917. Under the article Ancient History 9 years ago and 19 years ago. Ancient History 9 years ago. September 4th, 1908. We are pleased to note that the electric picture shows given nightly at the Opera House, which would be the Hinkle Opera House, are well patronized. These entertainments are high-class, innocent diversions, and they are usually entertaining and instructive. The small charge of only 10 cents places the admission in the reach of everybody, and we are pleased to note that many persons attend them. They are especially beneficial to children and young persons and others who have never had the opportunities of much travel, and they present to view interesting scenes in the current history or geography and travel, and give more accurate ideas of people, customs, and places than can possibly be gotten from reading. The moving pictures are usually good shows that are worth more than the price of admission. April 13th, 1917. Ida Gardner will sing at the Opera House. Monday night, under the auspices of the Lenoir Phonograph Shop, she will sing side by side with Mr. Edison's recreation of her voice. April 20th, 1917. One of the largest crowds were present at the Opera House for the music concert by Miss Ida Gardner, contralto, and Mr. Harold Lyman, flutist, in connection with a new Edison musical invention. The Reverend D. M. Lydekker, pastor of the First Methodist Church, introduced the artist, commending both the wonderful genius of Mr. Edison and the enterprise of the Lenoir phonograph shop in securing this concert for the people of Lenoir. The program was well selected, and Miss Gardner, in unison with the recreation of her own voice, sang a number of most difficult of songs. A number of beautiful selections were also rendered by Mr. Lyman. January 13, 1921. The Lenoir News topic. Lenoir is to have an opera house, to be built at the rear of the Harrison Building, to seat 600, two-story building, large main floor and balcony, purchased by George O. Shakespeare and Associates. The entrance will be on the side of the building facing the square. Contract already signed by R.W. Sherrill to take charge of amusements. He plans to give excellent moving picture shows and to secure good attractions of vaudeville or stock companies for occasional concerts. Now a little bit about the Hinkle Opera House. The building still stands here in Lenoir and used to be known as the Shaw Furniture Company building. But in the Hinkle Opera House, the Lenoir Graded School would have plays and concerts. There were boxing matches, there was roller skating, there was opera, there were movies. So it was used for many community events. A video about the Hinkle Opera House is on Bill Tate's YouTube channel. The building is now owned in 2021 by Sean Williams, and the building is under renovation. Graded School Honor Roll from the Weekly News. February the 5th, 1904. The following pupils, having made an average of over 90% in all their studies, deportment and attendance for the month of January is shown by examination. Their names are placed on the honor roll of the school. The enrollment is still increasing and the pupils are all doing good work. Mary Hinkle, Alice Hinkle, Annie Miller, Jessie Earnhardt, Hal Martin, Clara Lathan, Yancey Moore, May Pewitt, Henry Hoover, Francis Atchison, Strauss Hoover, Tressie Hefner, Lula Martin, Cornelia Miller, Ethel Mundy, Gertie Spainhour, Frank Grist, Emma Grist, Milton Underdown, Roy Moore, Albert McCall, Hunt Gwynn, Annie Lindsay. April the 1st, 1904. Those who have attained highest average during the month of March. First grade, Carrie Powell, Alice Grist, Pearl Kincaid, Avery Craig, Ernest Martin. Second grade, Walter Craig, Willie Watson, Fred Stimpson, Max Kritz. Third grade, Lula Martin, Fanny Crisp, Mabel Martin, Elisha Harris, Lily Winkler, Gordon Seals, Frank Fuller, Cora Alley. Fourth grade, Roby Craig, Milton Underdown, Roy Moore, Hunt Gwynn, Annie Lindsay, Gertrude Spainhour, Lizzie Fuller, Ethel Thomas, Cornelia Miller, Eunice Grist, Bessie Dula, Tina Safford. No fifth. Sixth grade, Fanny Winkler. Seventh grade, Clara Latham, Jessie Earnhardt, Hal Martin. April 13, 1906. The Lenoir Weekly News. Graded School Honor Roll. First A grade, Martha McCall, Brian Bush, Lee Price. First B grade, Annie Bess Palmer, Louise Todd, Eugene Allen, James Andrews. Second grade, Julia Deal, Jenny Day, Eva Mundy, Gracie Smith, Lizzie Seahorn, Dolly Talbert, Laurie Parks. 3rd grade, Clyde Sudworth, Lily Heelan, Edna Smith, Alice Grist, Rosa Musgrave, Robert Munday, James Safford, Chauncey Underdown, Claude Andrews, Katie Lindsay, Wyatt McNary, Avery Craig, Ross Holtzclaw, Herndon Clark. 4th grade, Lily Wakefield, Lucille Abernathy, Cora Alley, Ethel Mundy, Lily Tuttle, Gertrude Hoke, Carrie Goforth, Carrington Harris, Wade Smith, Lee Spencer. 5th grade, Patty Bean, Bessie Dula, Lucy Unhart, Lizzie Fuller, Tracy Hefner, Annie Lindsay, Cornelia Miller, Alice Robbins, Clem Goforth. 6th grade, Irene Robbins, Mamie Hoover, Mabel Goforth, Fanny Martin, Lucy Abernathy, Jeannie Dysart, Charlie Dysart, Russell Hefner, Floyd Blackwell. 7th grade, Clarence Hoke. Page 40 is blank. This is page 41. Senior class members 1907 through 1977. Note, in this record of graduating classes, names of valedictorians have been underscored, and Mrs. Lingle had placed an asterisk by the name of a member who is known to be deceased. 1 asterisk is deceased within 1 year, 2 valedictorian, 3 salutatorian. By permission from Ruth Watts Lingle. Class of 1907, Roger Hall, Ralph Todd, Jesse Earnhardt, Josephine Thomas. Class of 1908, Louis Dysart, Minnie Dysart. Class of 1909, Clarence Hoke, Irene Martin. Class of 1910, Ed Cloyd, Lucy Abernathy, Jeannie Dysart, 1989, 99 years. Mabel Goforth, Cornelia Miller, James Pritchett, Agnes Pewitt, Alice Robbins, 1980, Irene Robbins. 1952 reunion of the 1911 class. Courtesy, Catherine and Charles Stimson. Left to right, 1, unknown. 2, Irene Coffey. 3, Justina Safford Bernard. 4, Annie Ray Abernathy Stimson. 5, Dr. Caroline McNary, teacher. 6, unknown. 7, Annie Lindsay. 8, Ruth Tate Henderson. My aunt. Number 9, James C. Harper, class of 1911. James Harper, 1986, 92 years. Bessie Dula, Annie Lindsay, Ethel Thomas, Irene Coffey, Justina Safford, Lizzie Fuller, Ruth Tate. Mr. John L. Harris, Superintendent. Mr. J.T. Jones, Principal. In class of 1912, Lucille Abernathy, 1980, Cora Alley, 1979, Overton Dysart, Mark Goforth, Margaret Harper, 1984, Archie Kent, Roy Moore, Lillian Wakefield. Lenoir High School, class of 1911. Lenoir High School faculty and student body for the year 1912-1913. Faculty: Mr. E.C. Ruffin, Superintendent. Mr. O.G. Rogers, Principal. Miss Jones, Teacher. Miss Link, Teacher. Miss McNary, Teacher. Dr. Caroline McNary. Miss Coffey, Teacher. Miss Mary Coffey. Miss Brown, Teacher. Note: photograph and list of names furnished by Hal Hall, class of 1943. Back row: Eugene Jones, 1913. Wallace Buck Lindsay, James Coma, Arthur Courtney, James Deal, James Graham, Robert Munday, Reese Crisp, Fred Stimson, Fred Robbins, Avery Craig, Tom Warren, Harold Copening, Haywood Steele. Second row: E.C. Ruffin, Superintendent. David Bauer, Harold Coffey, Jenny Day, Lizzie Seahorn, Mary Dysart, Pansy Swanson, Mary Rabb, Elizabeth Harrison, Carrie Goforth, Kate Lindsay, Lucille Wilson. Third row, O.G. Rogers, Principal. Miss Jones, Teacher. Miss Brown, Teacher. Miss McNary, Teacher, Dr. Caroline McNary. Miss Coffey, Teacher, Miss Mary Coffey. Miss Link, Teacher, Flora Wakefield, Artie Gray, Flora Greer, Marie Parks, Annie Anderson Henderson. Chauncey Underdown. Fourth row, Charles Warren, Garland Hoover, Wilfone Courtney, George Steele, Edmund Greer, Clyde Sudrick, Lee Spencer, Walter Lenoir, Floyd Hartley, Roby Courtney, Eugene Poe. Fifth row, Matt Bernhardt, Bill Seahorn, Harold Klein, Jewel Smith, Willard Goforth, Lily Heelan, Erie Mundy, Sarah Harrison, Judy Deal, Louise Todd, Annie Beard, Theresa Crowder. And first row, Maud Tate, Estelle Blackwell, Lucille Triplett, Chauncey Griffin, Kate Grist, Jessie Sudreth Hall, Frances Coffey, Jane Maury Bernhardt, Annabelle Moore, Florence Swanson. Senior Class 1914, Blue and White, Volume 1, May 1914, Volume 3, from an original 1914 annual, courtesy Lynn Bernhardt. Editorial Staff, Lee Spencer, 1914, Editor-in-Chief, Janie Murray Bernhardt, 1915, Assistant, Elizabeth Seahorn, 1914, Editor, School Happenings, Reese Crisp, 1915, Exchanges, Harold Copening, 1916, Assistant Editor, Walter Lenoir, 1917, Assistant Editor, Roby Courtney, 1914, Business Manager, Fred Stimpson, 1915, Assistant Business Manager, Matt Bernhardt, 1916, Assistant Business Manager, Ethel Abernathy, 1917, Assistant Business Manager. Published by the High School Department of the Public Schools, Lenoir, North Carolina. And underneath the photo is Senior Class, Lee Spencer, Valedictorian, Roby Courtney, Historian, Elizabeth Seahorn, Prophet, Wallace Lindsay, President, and Annie Baird, Maker of Will. Class of 1913, Annie Anderson, Flora Greer, Carrie Goforth, Elizabeth Harrison, Cloyd Hartley, Eugene Jones, Annie Bell Moore, Clyde Sudreth, Maud Tate, Mabel Swanson. Class of 1914, Annie Baird, Roby Courtney, Wallace Lindsay, Lizzie Seahorn, Lee Spencer. Faculty 1914. From the 1914 annual Blue and White, May 22, 1914, courtesy Lynn Bernhardt, Class of 1938. Mr. G. O. Rogers, Superintendent, new this year, and Civics. Miss Mary Coffey, Principal, Latin, 8th grade teacher. Miss Ada Veal, Math, 7th grade teacher. Miss Veal replaced Miss Caroline McNary. Evidently, after teaching for several years, Dr. Callie McNary began her study of medicine. Miss Middleton, basketball leader and senior French, replaced Miss Sadie Jones, history, who left to do secretarial work at the State Agricultural Department. Miss Jenny Day also left. She married a Mr. Fry, and went to Collinsville. Miss England, music teacher. Class of 1914 and high school teachers were entertained by Elizabeth Sehorn at a dinner at the Martin House. The 5th annual reception of the Gaston Literary Society to the young ladies of the high school was held at the home of Matt Bernhardt. Presiding over the punch bowl were Alice Courtney, Laura Wakefield, and Louise Todd. On May 8th, the junior class entertained the seniors at the home of Mrs. Sarah and Carrie Harrison on High Brighton Avenue. On Sunday, May 18, 1914, 11 o'clock, the commencement sermon was preached by Reverend A.S. Peeler, pastor of the Reformed Church of Lenoir. This concludes page 50 and concludes part 2.